Today, I'm going to confront the source of the insurance epidemic.
Together, we're going to take on the government.
I previously tried to insure my brand new Lamborghini Revelto, but I was rejected due to driving my cars on private land.
The fact that you do the YouTube, some insurers, the minute they see that, they start panicking.
Now, this got me intrigued to what the world of insurance is really like and how it works. But what I found out was truly mind-blowing.
I mean, it must be a massive money earner for them.
It is a very predatory industry.
That would be a breach of the regulations all day long.
Let's get it in government now, let's get it discussed now.
Both you and I over recent years have felt the rapid increase in car insurance premiums. This mandatory requirement to drive on the UK roads has left people spending practically all of their money they earn to get themselves legally on the road. But scarily, so many have chosen the option to gamble and drive uninsured. This has got to a stage where there is an estimated 1 million uninsured drivers on the UK roads. So if the worst was to happen and you get hit by one of those breaking the law, then there would be no compensation for you and your family.
So how and why has it got this bad?
I'm determined to find the answers.
Hello?
You're right.
As long as I don't get ID'd and blacklisted from insurance, because as you've seen firsthand, they're a bit of a shady industry.
Yeah, that's my job, don't worry about that. First off, on my mission to get the truth about this, we spoke to this guy who wants to stop anonymous as he used to work for a huge insurance company and he is worried about the consequences if they knew who he was.
From my experience working at a car insurance company, it honestly felt more like working at a bookies or a casino. Around the office floor, we would have TV screens put up on all corners of the office so that they could be seen by everybody all the time. And that would have every employee's details on there and how they were performing versus the rest of the company.
Well, this literally sounds like something from Wolf of Wall Street.
But we were making more money than we knew what to do with.
So you were very much incentivized to be bringing in as much money as possible all the time, which that's business, I understand that. But the way it was done was quite predatory.
It's stories like these which make me so angry. Of course all companies have the right to make a profit, but this is wrongdoing and it's clear we need to make a change. And I genuinely think that what we do in this video could change car insurance forever.
So I remember having a lady call me up and said something along the lines of that she'd called to renew her driving license. Very elderly lady, kind of got the impression that she was a bit confused and it would have been very easy to take advantage.
But on his system he could see that this lady was eligible to a hefty discount and like any person would, he decided to apply it.
Finished the call, within 5 minutes got pulled into a manager's office and demanded why I'd done that. It was against company policy to issue discounts without anybody asking for it, and to then be further asked and justify why I didn't upsell additional products like breakdown cover as well.
So he was disciplined for fairly looking after a vulnerable elderly lady, and the discount he applied was still spare wiggle room, so the insurance company was still making money.
The way they went about making their money always felt predatory, and it never felt like they were just providing a service to be the best service it could be at the best price it could be for a customer.
Insurance companies obviously have full control of the market because this is a legal mandatory requirement. So we have zero option but to pay whatever price we get offered. But what if I told you that you can take control of the price of your insurance? Insuring my Revelto was only a tiny segment of my battle, as I'm extremely fortunate to own over 80 cars, but all of the insurance companies my broker had tried were refusing to cover me on any of them.
They're saying that I cannot insure any of my cars.
But on our first insurance video, hundreds of you guys commented the same suggestion, and it's a brilliant idea.
So thanks to your suggestions, we are going to create my own insurance company. Now, if you can't beat them, join them. So what this would mean is I'd be covered legally on the MID to drive any car on the UK roads, and in theory, I would pay absolutely not a penny in premiums. And that's the same for if I had one car or 200 cars. I'd be insuring all my own stock. This is genius. And it's totally legal.
After a bit of research, this seems relatively easy to do. Firstly, I have to register a new company with the government on Companies House, register with the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, and finally with the Bank of England, the PRA, which is the Prudential Regulation Authority.
All we got to do now is think of a company name.
Think something catchy.
Mark McCann car insurance?
Original.
We then came up with a more creative name, Kiss My Assurance.
But that got rejected. Obviously, they don't have a sense of humour.
So we went with our original name.
That got rejected as well. So now we've gone with the company name, I Hope I Don't Crash.
Then all we had to do was pay the £86 for the registration and just a 3-day wait. Next up was registering with the FCA. And if you don't know who these people are, then listen carefully, as this turns out to be a huge part of this investigation later on. It's a governing body which is sort of like regulated to make sure that I am not doing any things like money laundering.
What about in the past?
Reese, I told you that was never proven in court.
To find out how much this cost, we gave him a phone call, which took a painfully long time.
Thank you very much. Okay, full steam patiently on the call for me.
Yeah, no problem. Would you be able to tell me though, please, how much it costs to get my FCA approval?
I wouldn't be able to say, unfortunately.
We have just lost 31 minutes of our life. I dare you to put the whole call in on our Mark II channel.
With no luck on the phone call, we came back into 2024 and sent off a quick email to the FCA. Hopefully this figure is a value which means we can carry on getting myself self-insured. And soon we got an email back.
Have a guess how much?
1,000?
£25,000. But if you think about it, 25 grand to register for the FCA, yes, it's a lot of money, but say it's 25 years I'm driving, it's £1,000 a year. But just imagine, that's it, no premiums, nothing, so it's £1,000 a year.
To put this into perspective to why this is worth paying, I paid £6,500 to insure my Revelto, but that's just one car for 1 year. So if I multiplied that over 25 years, that's £162,000 I would save in premiums. It's a no-brainer.
This is going to save me an absolute fortune.
Can you insure me?
No. There's no way, if it's raining, am I insuring you around any island or any corner. I've seen what you like.
So that's it. I have decided to create my own insurance company. So we've requested a more sensible name this time and started the 3-day wait once again. In the meantime, I'm looking into the FCA regulations because this is serious stuff. And if any of the insurance companies have breached this, they could even end up in prison.
Hello, good afternoon. You're speaking to Martins at the Financial Conduct Authority.
I just wanted to know really sort of like what guidelines you have, like, you know, have you got any inquiries with car insurance at the minute? You know, is that something on your radar? You know, it's obviously it's a big talking subject at the moment.
I completely do appreciate that. Just bear with me for one moment, okay?
If they are clearly breaking the rules and guidelines, then we will be able to report them to the FCA and start making a change.
Who is choosing this music? Is this off your playlist?
Hello, Mark.
Can I put an official complaint in about your hold music?
I mean, I was just having a look on our financial, on our handbook, okay, which is essentially a list of rules and guidelines we expect regulated firms to follow, okay?
Yeah.
Our Principle 6 actually states that we expect regulated firms to treat customers fairly.
Yes.
And Principle 7 states that we expect regulated firms to communicate information in a way that is clear, fair, and not misleading, okay?
Yeah. Obviously, treating customers fairly is very broad and there is lots of grey area. But surely part of that is us as customers get a fair price. But we proved in the last video, changing some variables in the details can save you thousands. But we have found a new tip, which I cannot get my head around.
Firstly, use a browser in incognito mode. This is to stop a problem you may have seen, as sometimes when you do many quotes, the price can actually go up. Makes no sense, I know, but this will eliminate that happening. Now, one thing that you do get asked when filling out the quotes is medical details. If you do have some conditions, this can actually rise the price of your insurance.
So it's important you keep your body as healthy as possible.
Unfortunately, 1 in 4 men suffer with low testosterone, and 90% of those guys remain undiagnosed. If you have low mood, low energy, struggle sleeping, these are all symptoms.
To get yourself checked out, it's as simple as ordering a manual test kit.
Then all you have to do is follow the simple instructions. You prick your finger, package it up and send it off. And whilst we wait for those results,
let me show you another trick. You can pick a different car, and that car, the price may just surprise you.
We put Reese's details in. He is 20 years old and dangerous. Firstly, we tried a Golf GTI and the quote came back at £4,000. We then tried an E46 M3 and that was only £3,200, and I'll let you decide which one is the most dangerous. And that is simply because there is less E46s on the roads, so statistically they're in less crashes.
A few days later and our results have arrived from the manual test. You can see I am low on free testosterone, so I'm going to keep on top of that as I want the best quality of life. And if you do, you can use my promo code MARK45 to save yourself a massive 45% on your first test. And the link is in the description below. Thank you, Manual, for sponsoring this video.
The tricks and tips in the last video work because we are changing the different ingredients that make up that quote.
But what if we keep all the information the same and the only thing we change is the time of day and the price still goes up? Surely that can't be fair. So we're going to go onto a very well-known comparison site. We've entered Reese's details of a Mazda MX-5 59 plate. Now importantly, it's in incognito.
Yeah.
So basically what that means is this computer and this website will not know it's us next time we go on this a little bit later tonight, which is very, very important. So right now, 4 p.m. in the afternoon, we've put the quote in. It is £2,201.33p.
Cheap.
See you at 8 p.m. So it's now about 9 p.m, so it's about 4.5 hours after the last time we did this quote. And it's exactly the same price.
Looks good.
However, then we did a quote late at night when a lot of people are tucked up in bed, including me usually, and that would mean less traffic on the website. So would you say the next quote didn't match the guidelines?
So £2,411, that's 210 quid or something more than it was 3 hours ago. Like, how is this changing every time? This is like very, very weird and fishy. So anyway, I'm going to get to bed now and get up about 3-4 o'clock and see what it thinks at that time in the morning. It's 4:15, so I've got to be quiet. Filled all the details and again, so here we go. Oh, forgot it's not touchscreen. I'm tired. £2,674. So that's gone up another, what's that gone up? That's gone up another £273, hasn't it? You know, nothing's changed, it's all the same. So if it is a computer generator, why is it going up and down like this? Makes no sense.
How and why are they chopping and changing the price with exactly the same details? There seems no reason to do that. Does your computer know that you are statistically more likely to accept the quote at unsociable hours? So the following day, just to prove a point, in daylight normal hours, we did it all again. Same details as the night before.
How does that possibly work? So we're back, it's pretty much, I think it was 2,210, I think. So we've gone in 24 hours, full circle, from 2,200 quid up to 2,600 quid and back down to 2,200. So this is all about treating customers fairly, okay? If they can do 2,200 now, and they could do 2,200 at 7 o'clock last night, why can they not do 2,200 at 4 o'clock in the morning? Because that cannot be treating people fairly, surely not.
That's like 20% difference.
It's massive.
And it got even worse than this. We went back to the guy we spoke to earlier to see what discount he was able to give on a renewal quote. But remember, only if people argued and asked for it.
I think the biggest discounts I ever saw were sort of in the range of 30-40% off a renewal quote.
So it's massive, massive. It could be
massive amounts of money.
How is this fair? This is a regulated industry. If the insurance company can offer 30 to 40% discount and they still make a good margin, then why does not everybody get offered this price? This could potentially be thousands of pounds, especially as we showed in the last video that the profits they are making are huge lumps of money. However, we have learned it's not only the insurance providers who are taking advantage, and these increasing costs are affecting all of our policies.
Last month, my partner was stationary at traffic lights and a HGV turning left. The rear of the trailer just clipped the wing mirror on the car. So the lorry driver admitted full fault. We went through Hastings. They passed it on to Enterprise, who do their accident management.
They take your damaged car, which someone has crashed into, arrange to have it repaired, give it back to you in perfect condition, and then they claim the money back from the insurance provider of the driver at fault.
Enterprise arranged for the garage, etc., etc. Now, when we was on the phone to Enterprise, they kept on saying, you know, would you like a hire car? And we kept on, well, I kept on saying no, because we've got my car outside. We don't need a second car. So after about a week or so, I hadn't heard from the garage. So I gave them a call to chase them up. At which point they said, oh, we're really sorry, we haven't called you because we're waiting on a hire car for you. And I said, we don't want a hire car. And they were like, oh, we got told by Enterprise that you wanted a hire car, and that's why we haven't arranged for collection of your vehicle, because we don't have a hire car to supply to you at this time.
You might be thinking, why are they so insistent on supplying a courtesy car? But remember, this was an accident management company. So for them, the higher the claim and now the higher of a courtesy car, potentially that is another place to make profit.
It's too much of a coincidence that Enterprise Accident Management also have Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I mean, it must be a massive money earner for them.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Driving people's car they don't need.
It's in their interest to inflate that cost and get some money back if they can make some money on a rental car.
That's generally what I feel.
Yeah.
And some of the accident repair centres, well, they take it one step further.
So I work in an accident repair centre. So we had a Volvo came in, and that vehicle was valued at the market value of £27,000. But due to the amount of damage, the repair cost currently was at £10,000.
Now, this particular insurance company write the car off if the repair cost is more than 50% of the market value. So at £10,000, it is below the threshold and worthy of being saved and put back on the road.
Most of the job was new parts. There wasn't actually labour at all in the vehicle. So these accident repair centres, they make their money based on the labour. So if the job has very low labour, they will instantly try to pull the car off.
And for this repairable Volvo, they did exactly that.
So what they tried to do was they got a hammer, they hit the gearbox where the impact was originally and put it down for a brand new gearbox, which instantly increased the repair cost of that vehicle, leaving it as a write-off as they went above that 50% value mark.
That is bizarre, isn't it? So that's greed, because there's not enough money in the job, so they smash a car up, get it out of the way, and find a job with more labour value.
Yes. It happens other vehicles as well.
So, the insurance companies are not treating people fairly, but also the companies who work for them as well. All these backhanders are increasing profits and without doubt affecting all of us. The entire industry is a mess. These jobs have been inflated and the extra will just be swallowed up and paid by the insurance providers. And again, it's us who pay the increased premiums, as it certainly doesn't look like they're taking a hit on their profits. Something has to change, as I'm not sure anyone has actually broken any laws. The FCA guidelines are so broad. And in this video, I'm determined to make a change to the UK car insurance forever. And we're going to confront the people at the very top who we think are the source of the issue. But before that, let's speak to someone who knows more about the unfair world of car insurance. Meet Tim Kelly from Motor Claims Guru. This guy takes on insurance companies, and if needed, that's all the way to court. He fights for small people like you and me who have individual cases where they don't get treated fairly. He is a man who knows everything about insurance legislation. So we headed to his office, and thankfully we had some good news. We've got the confirmation back from Companies House now that the business is now registered. Fantastic. But then all we've got to do now is pay the FCA. ouch. But then at least I'm going to have to not pay a single penny for my insurance from now on, which will be a right result. But unfortunately, it's not quite as black and white as that, but we'll get onto that in a bit. Thanks, Tim.
Morning, Mark. How are you doing?
Thank you for your time.
You're very welcome.
We spoke to the FCA, and I know you're sort of like very clued up on all this insurance stuff. So do you think as a consumer we should trust insurance companies?
That's a really good question. So, insurance companies are bound by a piece of law which is called the Financial Services and Market Act. All financial institutions have to abide by different regulations, part which is called Principle 6, which is treating customers fairly. Consumers should be able to trust the company that they're dealing with and all the regulations that are in place, but that isn't what I experienced and see part of what I'm doing for the last 10 years.
So do you have any examples yourself of the insurance companies not treating people fairly?
Thousands. I started off in 2014, and kind of my background and history was I worked in the insurance industry for the best part of 20 odd years. And what I didn't realise at that point, because I've been indoctrinated by working in that industry, is that most of the things that I've been doing whilst I worked in it was wrong.
So you were the other side of the fence?
I was completely the other side of the fence for it, and it's only when I started doing what I did now, when I became more involved and started reading all the regulations, did I realise the things I did when I worked for an insurance company and how wrong it was. And that could be something along the lines of valuing vehicles.
So not only are there massive flaws on how you get your quote on that policy, now we see problems when you make a claim.
Part of our contract was to value that vehicle, and then we'd have a target of trying to get it at 80% of the guide.
But if that person's got to buy that car, they have to pay full retail price, so they're never going to be able to replace their car for the same money.
And this is the question then that comes around treating customers fairly.
And let me explain how that can be way worse. Now, for example, the insurance cover is £5,000 to insure your £20,000 car. So if you have a crash and your car is written off, this is called a total loss. And when you claim, your contract has now finished. The insurance company has paid you out. So any time left on that policy, you may not carry on. So if it is only the first month, you don't get a refund of the other 11 months that are remaining. So they have already chipped you 20% to your £4,000 down, and now you have to start a fresh premium, another £5,000. I didn't even know this was a thing. I assume the policy just carries on. How is that fair on the customer?
So we had one guy as well who was working in an insurance company, and they had like screens in all the corners of the room to say who was doing the best and selling the most. And the more profit, the more successful, the higher up the board that they got.
Ooh. Yeah, that would be a breach of the regulations all day long. And the reason being is that as part of the FCA regulations, they have to actually disclose any type of commission or fee structure that's in place when you sell a policy. So if they've got things where there's incentives in place to the salespeople, where it's not a set salary, it's actually a bonus or commission on top of it, that'd be a breach of the regulations, because clearly then they're acting in their own interest, because they're going to get a commission for it than they would do in terms of selling you a policy and selling you something that fits your demands and needs.
So Tim has showed that what is going on is not right, and the result is us as a consumer are paying the price. So how do we start to make a change? This is where it gets fun. The thing for me is insurance is mandatory. We are forced to have car insurance. So I think, do you think there's places they can go? Do you think there's other options they can explore to try and get these policies down?
I do, and the models that we've been using at the moment have been there for easily 100 years-ish, well, 1930s to where we are now. And the model that they've used has pretty much not changed. So I think what they should be doing is looking at alternative models.
So what would be our best way of doing that?
I think it is something that needs to be raised at a higher level than... Obviously, I fight insurance companies for a living, and I try and do my thing, but it's not something that individual people on their own can resolve. I think it's something that needs to be raised at a government level, in Parliament or...
Yeah, so we're talking go straight to the top.
Yeah. It needs to be debated in Parliament, and...
Right then, going to number 10.
Let's go.
This has to change. Car insurance affects every single one of us. And if this carries on the same trajectory, soon it's going to be simply unaffordable to get cover. So that's no way of getting to work, no way of dropping the kids off at school. This will impact our lives and freedom. This has to change, but we have an idea of how we can get to the government. But first of all, let's talk about my own insurance company. So we have registered the insurance company on Companies House. We've sorted the PRA and the FCA, but there is a huge new problem. Now, to have your own insurance company, you have to have a lump of money sat somewhere in case you make a mistake and you have to pay some damages to people's vehicles or themselves. Downside is 3 million quid. So to get £3 million, I'm going to have to sell every single car I've got. Then I'll have an insurance company to insure cars which I no longer have. So that isn't going to work. But there is a bigger problem which I thought of, and that is a serious one. Now, if in my new insurance company I go out the gate, I crash into a Bugatti Chiron and damage some people, I have then got to pay for that personally because I am the insurance company. So all that money I've got in the bank has now got to be paid to somebody else. Now that money could be every single penny and more than I've ever earned. It's just not worth the risk. It's really not. So thank you everyone, the hundreds of people who suggested that idea, because it was a brilliant one and I thought it was going to work. But it turns out there's no loopholes. We've all got to bite the bullet and we've got to pay for insurance, which we are forced to by the government. But talking to them, let's talk to the government, because that's the only place we're going to get permanent and forced change. We need an investigation into all the parts we have found. We need lower price insurance premiums, and it's going to need to come from the top. It needs to be more efficient, streamlined, and all these loopholes for extra profits closed. This is the only way I can see getting prices lowered. Now, I am just Mark from Redditch. I don't have Parliament on speed dial. I have no way of accessing the government. But this by myself is a very difficult journey. But I think I have a secret weapon. So we're on our way to see my old school friend Matt Dormer. Now, he's an actual counsellor, so hopefully he'll be able to give us a bit of insight on how we get hold of the government about this whole problem. It's really weird going to the council, because usually they want to speak to me for some strange reason.
How you doing, all right?
There you go.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, so we found this whole car insurance things.
Yeah.
We found some things which we're not particularly happy with, and we'd love for the government somehow to look at this. And I'm hoping you've got a back door to get in to speak to the government.
I wouldn't say a back door as such. There is only so much I can do. You fully understand that, I know. As a counsellor, that's, we are limited. It's a big issue. It's an issue that affects too many people for it to be ignored. Let's get it in government now. Let's get it discussed now. It's about talking to the right members of Parliament, the right MPs, and a petition is the big thing. Petition is about 100,000 signatures to get it spoken about in Parliament.
Like it's 100,000.
100,000. It's a big number, isn't it? But once we get to that stage, we can talk to MPs, and we can get people to champion this in Parliament for you.
So actually, in theory, we could get it so they actually talk about it in that room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thankfully, because of the support you give to our channel, I do have a little voice. But together, it's a different level. So I have set up a petition, but I need 100,000 of you to join me. The link is in the description below, but you can also find it by typing in the website address
markmccann64.com and hit the big red button which says petition.
So we are all in this together, me, Jane and Senna and all you guys, to take this to the very top. Hooray! And please don't forget our car show. Now that is at Mallory Park in Leicestershire, and it's Bank Holiday Monday the 26th of August. Loads going on, obviously a car show and a soapbox race, and if you want to enter the 100 Chicken Nugget Challenge, drop it in the comments below.
See you Tuesday 6 PM.
That as well.